Spider-Kel back once again for another video. In this one I wanted to start kind of like a set of videos based on the latest cosplay that I built. Last year I went to a number of conventions in my first costume that I made, which was V for Vendetta. And that was my first attempt at cosplay. It was my first time into the field and I really enjoyed that. It's a character I absolutely love. I still have the costume, I still intend to wear it at some places, and I still really enjoy that one. It's one that I really get a lot of fun wearing and meeting people with. And I made a couple of videos when I was updating and upgrading that one, just based on the daggers, the belt, and how I made a few things. And I got quite a lot of good responses from that, a lot of questions as well. I actually had a lot of people also asking me how each element goes together, what it all looks like together, how I made each bit. I did make a video on that, I put it together, and then I had problems and I lost the video and I just haven't remade it. So if that is something you'd like to see, how I put together my V for Vendetta costume and things like that, then let me know. It's something that I'm still willing to do if people want to see it. So yeah, if that's something that people want to see, then that's something I will do. However, this set of videos is based on my most latest costume. And what happened was, towards the end of last year, I started thinking about what I wanted to do next, because I had a lot of conventions this year I wanted to go to, and I wanted to try something different. I wanted to challenge myself, to push myself and try and do something just more challenging and more enjoyable. Not that V wasn't enjoyable, but just a lot of the V's costume was a shirt that I bought, a cape that my wife made, a hat that I made, but a lot of it was just put together by bits and pieces, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not complaining about that at all. There's no other way I could do it, but I wanted something that I built from scratch. I wanted a challenge, basically. And I started thinking about all the different characters that I like, all the different people that have influenced me in my life. And I also thought about what would work well for me. I'm 6'6", I'm very tall. It's the first thing that people notice when they meet me. And so a hobbit would not really work for me. I could do it, but I'd be the world's tallest hobbit. So I wanted to think of something that my height would work for. So I started thinking about tall characters. And the first one that came to my mind is the one that I went with in the end. My childhood hero, my idol, the one that I've always loved since I was 4 or 5 years old, till this very present day when I'm 35 years old, and that is G1 Optimus Prime. I love the guy. The cartoons, the films, Peter Cullen's voice, everything about it, I love it. So I decided that's what I would do. So I started researching, I started looking at how you do big builds, what the best material is, cardboard, Evaform, how you shape Evaform. Just did a lot of research on how you do these things, because it's all new to me. And decided, yeah, it's something I'd like to try. So what I wanted to do is to put these group of videos together, to go through each piece individually and talk about how I built it, the inspiration behind them, what I used to build them, the problems I faced, how I overcame them, and plans to improve it in the future. A lot of things to cover, so what I'm going to do is do it over a number of videos. I'm not going to do it all in one, because this will be hours long and no one's going to sit through that. So what I want to do is go through each piece individually based on what I built first and next and how I moved on. Because what I did as well, I wore this at Newcastle Film and Comic Con back in March, the 19th of March at Newcastle Radio Arena. It was the first time I wore it. Came across a lot of issues, a lot of problems that I thought to myself, I need to fix that, and I started thinking of ways to fix it. But overall, the response I got for it was one of the greatest things I've experienced in my life, easily. I got so many people coming over saying how much they love the costume, how much they love the character, how much they could see what I put into it, and a lot of people saying how good it was. I just got so much good feedback. I couldn't take 3 steps without someone coming over to me and saying, could I get a picture, how did you build, and things like that. And it was amazing, absolutely amazing. I still, it's the 2nd of May now, and I still to this day think back to that and think how incredible it was. And it's the first convention I went to completely by myself, and I thought I might get, because I would usually go with my wife or my good friend Paolo and Pete and all the friends that I have. We often go to them, but this is the first time I went by myself, and I thought, would I get lonely? Would I not have many people to talk to? I didn't get 5 minutes to myself because I had so many people coming over talking to me about it. I was in a few cosplay videos, and I was on Newcastle, name's gone, Northeast Tonight, something like that, where they did a thing about that. A good friend George, he was on that as well, and then they interviewed me in the Prime costume. Just so much, the Chronicle, things like that, and I just got so much good feedback for it that I wanted to do these videos to kind of answer a lot of questions I was getting that day. How long did it take to build? What's it made out of? What's your inspiration behind it? So I thought this might be a good group of videos to kind of do, and also to document my progress in improving it. Because as I said, there's a lot of things that didn't quite go right. So, all of that out of the way, all of that backstory out of the way, we'll move on to the first piece. Now the first piece that I worked on was the head. I decided if I couldn't get the head right, that was going to be the most complex technical bit, and if I couldn't get that right, I had no right building this costume at all. You know, if I couldn't get the head exactly right, it wasn't going to work. And I could have bought the Optimus Prime shop helmet that just goes on. No, I wanted the G1, and I wanted to make it myself. That was my challenge. And I faced a lot of problems with this. I faced a lot of issues that I overcame and found ways to build around it. So to go through it step by step, first of all what I did was I went around my head with card, and I then built the size of it so that I had a general idea of how big it was going to be. Then what I started doing was the front bit for the face, the eyes, the nose, and this was a section where I decided I needed to get this done so that I knew I could build the nose, because that was going to be quite difficult. And what I did was I cut little strips of small Eva foam, just thin like that, cut strips, glued it together with hot glue, and just shaped it around. And it came out really well, and I was really pleased with it, and it gave me inspiration to keep going. What I worked on next was the side panels and the back piece. And what I used for that was kneeling pads that you would use in the garden, or that you would use when you're working on something, which worked out to be the perfect thickness. The only problem with these was they had little bubbles on both sides, which I would need to address later on. My plan at the time was to sand them down. That didn't quite work. So what I decided to do in the end was to go over it with the thin Eva foam, and then I would just paint it all that way. It gave it a smoother finish, and it was easier to work with. The next section that I worked on was the over the eyebrow piece, which I did struggle with quite a bit with that one. That was, it took me a while to kind of work that out. I then worked on the top piece, the kind of point that goes across the top. As you can see here, I kind of made it a little bit too big to begin with, but I'd rather make it too big and work out where it needs to be cut than too small. So I worked on that bit, and then I put the top over it, and then I started to put the top sections that would cover from the side to that point. That was a little bit tricky, trying to fill the gaps and so on, but overall it worked quite well. The next section that I worked on was the circle part of his ears, and then the spikes that came out the top of it, and that was basically again using the kneeling pad Eva foam that was then moulded down to make a more cone shape. Again, another piece of thin Eva foam over the top to cover the bubbles. And then Eva foam again to basically use as the pointed part of his ears, with some thin bits of wire inside just to keep its shape. The mouthpiece next was one of the most difficult pieces that I worked with. I never expected the mouthpiece to be so difficult. I kind of had it in my head how it was going to work, but because the face kind of ended up a little bit lopsided, I couldn't get it exactly right, and it took a good number of attempts to get it to work. Here I have one of the pieces that just didn't quite work out. I'd worked on different variations where I kind of made this into a point, and then this would go over like that. And that's one of the ways that I tried to work it. It just didn't look right, it didn't feel right, it didn't fit. So I went through about 5 different variations before I got this one that I was happy with. The next thing I did was to go over the cracks and over all of the bits with some gap filler. And I used that to fill in all the gaps and try and sand it down. Problem was, I didn't really use the best type. It ended up quite shiny. So then when I painted it, all of those sections that I filled the gaps in with were clearly evident because they were much more shiny than the other pieces. That bit annoyed me a little bit. I kind of did that and thought, it was one of those things where I wish I just left it alone and found another way to do it. But it worked. The last bit that I did was I used some old sunglasses, which I then glued inside for the eyes. And my plan at the time was to have it lit. I wanted to have it so that the eyes lit up. I tried several different ways of putting LEDs in there, and I wanted to do it so that the eyes were lit, but it didn't hinder my vision any more than it already was. But it didn't quite work. But overall, I wasn't too bothered with that. I thought that the eyes lighting up would be a nice little addition, but it wasn't as needed. And then by the end of it, I had something that looked a little bit like this, as they would say in Blue Peter and Art Attack. And as you can see, all of this was made out of Eva foam. If I come a little bit closer, you can kind of see there. That's where the the gel was. That kind of looks a bit too shiny, but so you can see all the gaps and things like that. These bits are kind of molded to make into a point, and then had the thin Eva foam on the outside. This bit as well, I just cut a bit of Eva foam after colouring it and drawing the lines on and stuck it on there. And as you can see there, the eyes. There's my camera. Yeah, so the eyes are really good. I like the colour of them, and I like how they look. So I wasn't too bothered that they weren't going to be able to be lit up. The mouthpiece, as I say, was a really difficult piece to do. And after making it, I still wasn't too keen, but it did its job. That's a view of the inside, so you can see that's where all the card was that I used to originally design it. I had to cut away here to get my ears inside. I had to cut the back because it was pressing against my temple quite a lot, so I had to cut the back a little bit just to give me a bit more space. And then the Eva foam on the top, and a lot of cutting, trimming just to try and get it so that it would fit. And if I go around there, you can see there's the sunglasses on the inside. But overall, I was very, very pleased with it. It was something where I built it and thought, for a first attempt, I'm pretty damn pleased. And it fits on really nicely. There we go. It fits on really nicely, and it moves really good. It's really easy to get on and off as well. So with the whole costume on, it was easy to just reach across with one hand, grab here, and just pull like that. I need to watch to make sure these don't come off, but overall it was quite easy, because that was one of the problems that when I first made this and then realised I was going to be going to the convention by myself. It's a big costume, and how do I get in and out of it without someone there to help? So that was at the forefront of my mind. I didn't want to rely on other people to be able to get in and out of it, because what if if I did go with other people, what if they wanted to go and look at something else? Did they want to spend the entire day helping me get in and out of a costume? You know, so I wanted to be able to do it myself, and that was at the forefront of my mind. So the fact that this could just easily slip on and fit was perfect. Now I talk about things that I want to change. The mouthpiece, I'm still not happy with this mouthpiece. I need it to come a little bit further down. A lot of the pictures that I've seen afterwards just feels like it's too high up my face. I need it to drop down just a little bit more, just to cover my face that little bit more. I do have a grey scarf that I wear underneath to hide my skin, to make it look a little bit more robotic, but I do need that mouthpiece dropping down. So that's going to be my next piece with that, is to basically have it so that it's maybe in line with the bottom here, and just drop down so that it's in line with the bottom part rather than up here. It just feels like it's a little bit formed. But on the whole, I'm really pleased with this, and that's the only thing I want to change about the head. After the convention, I did try and do the lights again a different way. Still didn't work, so I've decided to just scrap that idea. I'm not going to try and light the eyes up. If I rebuild the head, I might try and incorporate it in a different way, but I'm happy with this at the moment. So just the mouthpiece to fix, and I'll show you progress on that when I actually do it. But overall, I was really pleased with it, really happy with it overall. And although you've got the little shiny pieces and the eyes don't light, the mouth's a bit not too big, overall it was really good and I was really happy with it. So there we go for part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next time I'll be coming back and I will be going through the next piece that I worked on, which was the feet. I wanted to incorporate something where I could easily get my feet inside and attach the legs to it, and then I could walk around with a little bit of ease. So I had a look around, came up with some ideas, and I'll bring that to you next time. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment, leave a like if you liked it. Let me know if you would like to see that V for Vendetta. Let me know what you think about this selection of videos. In the meantime, take care, and I'll see you very soon. Roll out!